for
Governor,
Minnesota law enforcement
Governor,
in 30 years.
Claiming my time. Governor, what weapons did you carry in war?
Congressman, for 24 years, I carried.
No. What weapons did you carry in war?
Hold on, pause.
That's not questioning a witness. That's not questioning a witness. You think
Point of
so,
order.
huh?
State your point, Mr. Rankin.
No, you're
State
yelling
your
at
point.
him.
There we go.
You're hectoring. You're hectoring.
I did retire after
Valor.
24 years.
Here is a picture of your coin, your challenge
Jesus
coin.
Christ.
I'm disgusted with you. I'm just, Governor,
Chairman, the time has expired.
Congressman,
you lie when the
Gentleman's
truth is
time's
better.
expired.
You called half Trump supporters Nazis and fascists, and you know what? That's why.
In recent years, the political divide in the United States over issues like law enforcement, immigration policy, and the legacy of the 2020 protests has only deepened. These debates often come to a head in congressional hearings, where elected officials question public leaders under oath, sometimes to seek answers, and sometimes to score political points.
One from the National Immigration Center,
Without objection to order.
National Immigrant Justice Center, and the Alliance for Immigrants.
Without objection to order.
They speak for themselves.
Chair recognizes Mr. Stauber from Minnesota.
Thank you very much, Governor Walz. Thanks for being here today. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I ask you to keep your remarks brief. I got a lot to go through. As you know, I spent 23 years as a law enforcement officer in the state of Minnesota. You know that, right? Do you know that, yes or no?
I don't know how many. It's
not a trick question.
I don't know
I'll
how many
answer it for you.
years.
23 years in Duluth.
Thank you for that.
So, Governor, do you recognize this picture?
I do recognize the picture.
Briefly describe it to us. What is it? What's going on?
These were folks, I believe the people in the picture now are incarcerated in Minnesota.
It's a
to the
precinct
best of my
3 burning down because of your decision. Was this a peaceful protest? Was this a peaceful protest?
The gentleman standing there?
Was this a peaceful protest?
It was a criminal act that people were prosecuted for.
So it wasn't a peaceful protest, right? As I watched lawlessness devastate Los Angeles this past week, I was reminded of your failure to protect Minnesota from similar riots. Governor Walz, on May 29th of 2020, during your own press conference, you described your response to the riots during the 2020 Summer of Love as, quote, an abject failure. Governor, I couldn't agree with you more.
That's out of context.
And on May 17th, 2025, you were at the law school, graduating Minnesota Law School, talking to the graduates. And we've talked about this. You called the enforcement of illegal immigrants a modern-day Gestapo. You've been asked 3-4 times if you would rescind that, and you won't. Will you rescind it? This is like the 5th time, yes or no?
Congressman, I was talking to law students about due process, and I said
you won't rescind it.
you took an oath to due process.
Governor, was there a violent al-Shabaab terrorist who entered our country illegally, arrested in Minneapolis last year? Yes, there was. Were there 3 illegal child predators arrested by ICE in St. Paul earlier this year?
I certainly hope so. That's their job.
Yes, there was. Are the officers who arrested the al-Shabaab terrorists or the child predators, are they Nazis or the Gestapo?
The tactics of wearing
They're
masks.
not.
The tactics of wearing masks.
Why did you tell us that they were the Gestapo? Do you believe that any of the violent illegal immigrants I have mentioned have a right to be in this country?
One such moment recently unfolded during a tense congressional hearing involving Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. The hearing was charged with emotion, accusations, and sharp exchanges between Republican members of Congress and the Democratic governor. At the center of this confrontation were 3 major topics: Governor Walz's handling of the 2020 riots in Minneapolis and St. Paul, following the murder of George Floyd, a time when parts of Minnesota were engulfed in chaos, protests, and violence. Critics argue that Walz failed in his duty to protect the state, while supporters maintain that he faced an unprecedented crisis with limited resources. Comments the governor made about immigration enforcement, in which he allegedly compared certain enforcement tactics to those used by Nazi Germany's secret police, the Gestapo. Such statements have enraged opponents, especially in light of successful law enforcement operations that removed dangerous criminals from Minnesota communities.
I don't know what their immigration status was.
They're illegal, violent criminals that the ICE took off the streets of Minneapolis.
You did not say,
Last week,
Congressman, what their status
Governor,
was.
last week, law enforcement officers in the state of Minnesota took 900 pounds of meth off the streets. Do you support that?
We certainly do.
Do you know that ICE assisted in that arrest, those arrests and investigations? Do you support the assistance of ICE in that enforcement action? Yes or no?
I can't speak to that because we were not included in the briefing.
You don't know if ICE was part of it? I'm telling you they were.
I don't have that data. I would have to trust you.
Will you apologize to our constituents and law enforcement officers for making them and their families less safe with your incendiary actions?
I'll congratulate them that they helped us work on the largest pension bill for
Governor,
Minnesota law enforcement in 30 years.
Claiming my time. Governor, what weapons did you carry in war?
Congressman, for 24 years, I carried...
No. What weapons did you carry in war?
What did you carry in uniform?
I tell you what, Governor, you're barking down the wrong tree, okay? You lied to the Minnesotans. You said that you carried weapons in war. That is stolen valor. You know what? My wife served 24 years in the military.
A little bit of respect for the witness.
And she's an Iraq war veteran.
You know what I mean?
She was over in the war zone. That's stolen valor, and I'm so disgusted with you. And so are the people that you served with.
Point of order.
That's stolen valor.
Halt just a minute.
Stolen valor. You didn't carry weapons in war.
Congressman, my 24 years with public
Will you
many
apologize
years.
for lying?
Objection.
Will you apologize for lying?
Objection.
Hold on, pause.
That's not questioning a witness. That's not questioning a witness. You think
Point of
so,
order.
huh?
State your point, Mr. Eckerman.
No, you're
State your point. There you go.
You're hectoring. You're hectoring. You're hectoring.
State your
Governor, you didn't carry weapons in war, did you?
State your point.
You didn't carry weapons in war.
You got 24 seconds.
Did you?
Congressman, you know I
didn't carry weapons in war, yes or no?
Thank you.
You lied. Governor, what rank did you retire at? What rank did you retire at?
Congressman, I served my battalion as the command sergeant major.
That's not the question I asked. What rank did you retire at?
I retired as a master sergeant in
Okay,
EA.
here's your coin that says you're retired at a command sergeant major. That's your challenge coin.
It says I wore the rank.
That's right. You didn't retire, did you?
I did retire after 24 years.
Here is a picture of your coin, your challenge coin.
Right.
I'm disgusted with you. I'm just...
Mr. Chairman, the time has expired.
Congressman,
you lie when the truth is better.
Expired.
You called half Trump supporters Nazis and fascists, and you know what? That's why the Minnesota Police and Peace Association did not support you in the last election because you're missing in action.
Gentleman's time expired.
On behalf of the folks from the land of rocks and cows, thank you. Now you go back.
Chair recognizes Ms. Tenney from New York.
Accusations of stolen valor, a term used when someone allegedly lies or exaggerates about their military service. Governor Walz is a veteran of the United States Army National Guard, but during the hearing, one congressman accused him of falsely implying he saw combat while carrying weapons, challenging his integrity and military credibility. These issues don't just reflect on Governor Walz alone, they tap into broader national debates. How should America handle violent protests? How should we talk about immigration enforcement? And when does criticism cross the line into disrespect for law enforcement? What role does military service play in public trust for elected officials? This hearing quickly moved beyond policy into personal attacks, touching raw nerves on all sides. It showcased how politics, policing, immigration, and patriotism are now deeply intertwined in America's political battles. As we break down what happened, it's important to go beyond the shouting to understand the facts, the accusations, and what it all means for the future of American leadership.